What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Main Man Sweet here, hoping you're all doing good as always. It's not, it's me. I've been gone for a while. We just got a whole new computer set up, and I can finally get Mortal Kombat content back out to you people. And since the new season of Kombat League has started, I've been getting a lot of requests from viewers of mine on my stream live at twitch.tv/kevinmcolon, where you can follow and play me live. We've been having a lot of fun over there. A lot of people go negative in the first week or so of Kombat League. It's very sweaty. You do have to keep in mind, I'm not a fan of it. I advocate against it all the time, but I like Mortal Kombat too much to not deal with it anyway. The first couple of days to the first week of Kombat League is full of people. You gotta think every player, no matter what skill level they are at, are all apprentice rank when you start. So the first couple of days are very hard. And it helps to take a look at some of the beginner tips and tricks that you might be needing to take advantage of that you're forgetting about because you're getting pressured by these high skill players. Or if you're new to the game and you're not aware that these options are available, it would help to know them, because a lot of situations that you get put into where you feel like you have no option to get out of it, some of these beginner kind of strategies and ideas are your answers to getting out of these situations. Tip number 1, making use of all of your defensive options. Mortal Kombat 11 gives you so many of these to work with, whether it's using your up 3 invincibility to get someone to stop pressuring you, your up 2 to combo them because they left themselves too open, especially if you're a Garrus player. You have a forward roll, back roll, breakaway. Now, all of them come at the cost of defensive meter, so these aren't skills that you want to overly abuse, because you have to keep in mind something like breakaway, which will be the first one we discuss, because you would be surprised how many players I see not use breakaway and essentially just take oodles and noodles of combo damage that they don't have to because they have full defensive meter, and sometimes it could save them a game if they made use of it. I'm going to take control of Sub-Zero actually and record Scorpion doing a little thing you'll see online a lot. Scorpion teleport, right? Now if I break away from this, he doesn't get his combo. Now it cost me both of my defensive meter, but I cut off the Scorpion in certain situations with that combo can lead into 40% damage off of confirming a teleport, especially if by chance he hits with buffed Searing Rage, where he has his spear all active and inflamed and everything. He can get big damage off of that. I just cut him off. And now I don't have to take that damage, and we can continue the game. And in some situations, what I like to personally do is wait until my opponent gets to a point in their combo where they've spent a bar of meter to get extension and then cut them off. So I've now denied them at least 1 bar. You got as far as this will get you. You've spent a meter, and we're gonna stop there. You got to do it again. You got to open me up again. Outside of that, again, we have up 3. Up 3. I need to switch the character I'm controlling real quick. Up 3 is great because you get invincibility with it. That will get pressure characters to leave you alone. So you see here, I'm going to record Sub-Zero knocking me down, and usually this is something I would just have to deal with. When you get knocked down, I'm going to try to get up. Oh, that can interrupt it in that case. I don't play Scorpion and Sub-Zero. But let's say I couldn't. Well, I could always up 3 and get him to stop. If you're playing like a Jackie or something, I wouldn't try waking up buttons. It's never going to work. But here, I've now gotten him off my back and bought myself an opportunity to enforce pressure on him that now he has to deal with. And that can be very, very helpful, especially when you have players, myself included, who tend to kind of keep the pressure going and never back off. Then we have up 2. Now the difference with up 2 is that it doesn't have the same wake up invincibility that up 3 will service you. Okay, that looks better. You see now? So now I'm trying to up 2 and he's beating me out of it. Now if I up 3, I'm fine. But if I up 2 to try to get launcher on him, I get beat out. And God forbid he's using a string that crushing blows on counter hit, then I would be servicing him. I'd be spending a bar of defensive meter and giving him crushing blow for countering me. Now there's also forward roll, which is, you see, will just get you out of that situation completely. You'll go through your opponent. That is going to be your forward and stance switch button, and then you have backward roll, which can, depending on the situation, get you out of situations. Same thing here with the way this string is working, in a position where I can even punish him for missing that string. You see, now I'm getting a punish and I'm doing Scorpion stuff. It's a great option. Now These rolls are not invincible to grab. So we'll see here, I'm going to set the AI. So now I'm going to knock him down and he's going to roll past me, which you see there will save him. But if I know he's going to roll, I can grab him and he can't get out of it. You'll see I can wait a second, he's trying to roll, and I grab him out of the roll. There are characters who get crushing blows off of that and whatnot. Also keep in mind that, of course, if you use any of these offensive options, breakaway does cost 2 bars. So if you use 1 bar in any of these situations, you won't have it for breakaway. So meaning if you do try to go for like a wake up 3 and your opponent knows and they don't fall for it, you're not going to be able to break away again until you get that defensive meter back. Other characters also use defensive meter. Jackie, now with the nerf, has to use a lot of defensive meter for her far and close jumps. Cetrion uses defensive meter to teleport. Kung Lao uses it for orbiting hat. So they're putting themselves in situations where they're trying to get their offense going and they're risking getting caught and not being able to break away. They're reducing their ability to use those defensive options. So they're great tools to use. Don't over abuse them. But if you're getting stuck in situations that you can't figure out and you need to go in practice mode to figure out what you need to do, you might need to be using one of those that you aren't using. Get you out of the corner, it'll get your opponent off of you, it'll give you combo opportunities, and so forth. So now let's look at a different situation here, and let's talk about neutral ducking high moves that your opponents are throwing out. In one situation that's very, very obvious for most people is neutral ducking throw. Something as simple as trying to avoid this situation here, right? You'll see if I block, I of course get thrown. If I crouch block, I get thrown. But if I just neutral duck without blocking, it whiffs completely. Now the beginner version of dealing with this is just to do a down 2 and get your opponent up in the air. You'll see off of something as simple as down 2ing into another down 2, I've hit him for 30%. That's also unbreakable. Even if your opponent chooses to try to break away from that situation, they'll still get hit with the down 2 on the way down from breaking away. So that's guaranteed damage if you hit that. At a higher level, I would try to start getting up and punishing your opponent with combos instead of just down 2ing them. This will be a lot more effective for you. It may be less damage, but with other characters you get more damage. You know, Shang Tsung isn't the best damage character. Down 2s don't scale as much, yada, yada, yada. But throws are the obvious neutral duck. Some of them aren't as obvious. So we'll look at a situation that will really, really frustrate beginners, but intermediate to advanced level players are very used to and will do in this situation. And that's something as simple as Raiden and Thunderwave doing his back 1-2 into Thunderwave. And actually, let me record him blocking after he does it so we can get this point across. So he's gonna do this string and then block. Okay, so I'm gonna block the string and then try to punish him and he's safe. So what does it start feeling like? No matter what move I try to use, I can't get in and punish Raiden quick enough. So he's safe the whole time. How am I supposed to get him to stop doing this? Look how far he is, it's not fair. Well, there is a solution, and the solution is neutral ducking. This is the importance of going into training mode and trying to analyze these situations. You'll see when Thunderwave comes out, we've got 2 mids and a high. High meaning I can neutral duck the last hit. So we wait for the first 2, neutral duck, and then we can get in and get a punish. And you see in this situation, I'm walking in after I duck the high and getting the punish. So there's so much time to get in there. And that's free damage. He has to eat that because he's left himself open by performing this move. Now, Raiden players are going to know that they're punishable in that situations. Not a lot of other players will. Go through strings with characters that you have trouble with. See if there's a high in the string. Doubly so if the string ends in 1 the way that does. Use it as an opportunity to get yourself out of there. So now we want to talk about conditioning your opponent. It's one of those basic fighting game skills that as a general FGC player you want to get used to. It's a skill that's going to universally carry over to any fighting game that you play. And it's basically establishing a pattern of behavior that your opponent can get used to and then changing that pattern of behavior to open them up. Right? So when we talk about mix-ups, of course, having the ability to throw a low at somebody or throw an overhead is going to be very helpful. But that's not the only way you can mix up your opponent. You can condition your opponent to get used to a string of things that you do and then do something else because they'll be preparing to react to what they're used to seeing. Basically, any good fighting game player is trying to identify some bad habit or pattern in your behavior. So what you're doing is almost in a sense pretending to have a habit and letting them believe that's the habit. and then breaking it at opportune moments when you need to open them up. And it always helps to save those as long as you can. So if you have a cycle that's working, abuse that cycle, and when they get used to it, change it. And when they get used to changing it, change it. And the more different layers you have for conditioning them, the better this effect will be. Something as simple as, universally Shang has this crushing blow here, right? Back one, down two, where the back one is a mid and the down two hits overhead. Well, if the opponent knows this overhead is coming, pretty much every player online is used to. Shang Tsung has been out long enough where they know this exists and they're going to stand block it, right? And we're not playing Soul Eater where I can stop myself and go for a low. You see, if I try to do this into back three, even on block, it's slow. People will see it coming. What I can do is continually abuse this on them while they're stand blocking, right? So let's just set the AI to block what I'm doing. So we'll start doing this and blocking, and again, you'll see the back three. It's very slow. They know it's coming. But we're doing this over and over, and they're used to it. And then you know what we're going to do at one point? Do back one and just throw them. Because what are they doing? They're stand blocking consistently, waiting for the overhead, because we've shown them, hey, I do the overhead every single time. And it's pretty safe on block, so there's no reason to not abuse it, doubly so if you have a life lead. And then at one point, when they stand up and get ready to block the overhead, they get thrown. And with Shank, you get a little bit of health. And we discussed before with neutral ducking that if you're blocking, you eat the throw. So whether they're crouch blocking or stand blocking, as long as they're still holding the block button, they've gotten conditioned and hit with the move. Something as simple as doing back three of four, which the opponent can either stand block or can poke you out of. Shane can actually get down one out of this, and with certain characters, they can convert that into damage. Then you back three down four after you show them that. Then maybe you back three and just back off. Then maybe you back three and back two and go for this whole crazy thing. Notice that one's a high at the end too, so it can be neutral duck. See how these all coming together? We're working with strategies here. So take advantage of conditioning your opponent, establish fake patterns of behavior. Something as simple as, oh, I come in and then I do this. Well, maybe at one point you jump in and you just grab. Maybe you jump in and you do one punch and then you grab. Maybe you jump in and you do a punch and then they let go because they think you're going to grab, and then you do another one and they get hit. Just keep adding layers to it. Open your opponent up by conditioning them. Okay, tip number 4 is going to be learning effective anti-airs outside of just using down 2. Reason being, you want to, in a lot of situations, condition your opponent that they're not just going to get to jump in for free. And just down 2ing, while it is a threat, isn't the biggest threat that you can introduce. So we're going to use Johnny Cage as an example here because he's my favorite character to use to serve as an example for this. If you want to see it in effect, this game plan, you can check out my tutorial on how to play. I'll take Johnny Cage and use him to win online. But here's a good example of it here. So we've got Joker here recorded to just jump in and hit me with the air attack. And then, of course, afterwards, he's going to do a big stream, go into damage if that hits me. Now, I could just block it and deal with whatever's next. Or I can just get him out the air, right? A lot of people at beginner level will just go, oh, well, you know, this down 2, while it is good, it's such a great move. And sometimes you can even get damage after it. If you have your timing on, if you catch it right at the peak, you can down 1. I don't have the timing here to do it. But down 2 is only going to offer you 14 damage, okay? 140 if you like using those terms. What if we were to do something like this instead? Right, now we've now increased that amount of damage. Okay, he gets hit with that enough times, that's his life bar. And that's a way bigger threat than just this. Not only is it a bigger threat purely for the damage, also for the fact that the opponent now realizes you were ready and prepared to do this to them. Which means, again, you were in their head. Now they're scared to jump because they think to themselves, oh man, this guy knows that I want to jump and he's going to hit so much damage if I do. Mind you, that's not an optimized anti-air for Johnny. That's me not using any meter to extend his damage, not trying to get the combos into nut punch and continue. That's just a basic meterless anti-air. And I'm hitting him for way more than the 14 that he was planning on risking in the beginning. Okay, higher level players will understand that there's this damage risk, but at lower level, players jump for everything. There's nothing a beginner player loves to do more than jump in and try to do a combo, because when you learn combos in practice mode, what do you learn? That if you hit them off a jumping 2, you get more damage. So everybody wants to hit a jumping 2 at lower levels. When they go for it, do this instead. See if they want to keep doing it. And for our last tip, while this might sound annoying to some of you, the last tip is to just take full advantage of practice mode. I see a lot of players who don't do this, and a big part of the amount that you progress as a player and how high your skill level gets over time is your willingness to come into practice mode and work out situations on your own. It's one thing to know about it, it's another thing to have the muscle memory for it, or to be able to visually recognize it or be familiar with it. And a lot of that comes from trying things out, and as of course we all call the lab, and working it out for yourself. Okay. While a lot of gimmicks can be annoying, like Liu Kang, which is why I use him as an example, or Jackie Briggs, which I know, I played her, but I know. Sometimes you won't be able to find out how to deal with it online. Now, I, of course, will be posting videos in the future trying to tell you as much as I can, but even I don't have all the time in the world to figure out every single possible scenario between every single configuration of characters you can get into and work out for you what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. I'll help to the ability that I can, but you need to be able to help yourself, and practice mode is the way to do that. What I see a lot of beginner level players doing is coming into practice mode, doing something like this, you know, like a Jackie Briggs combo loop that would be difficult for most early players to perform, and then going, okay, I can do that combo, now I'm gonna go online and win matches, and they go online and they try to perform the combo and they lose all of their matches and they don't understand because they spent a whole hour practicing this one combo. Well, practicing this one combo, while it's good that you know how to do it and it's important to practice combos, it's very one-dimensional. You need to practice situations. Combos are an answer to situations. The main importance of practicing combos is to optimize your opportunities to squeeze out as much damage as you can every time you're given an opportunity to dish damage out to your opponent. Not just to figure out these high damage combos that you can throw out. Repetition leads to predictability. Leading to predictability means you're not conditioning your opponent. If you're not conditioning your opponent, they only have to deal with one strategy from you, and if they happen to know the answer to it, you lose the whole match. And you'll do that over and over and over again, on end, until you come into practice mode and work out different situations. How can you condition them? You find out here. How can you deal with them? You find out here. So take full advantage of it. You get beat with something online, take that strategy, pick that character, perform it on yourself, and work out, can I up 3 out of this? Can I up 2 out of this? Basically, every single beginner option we covered in this video, you should be considering as an option to get out. Is the move a high and I'm not familiar with it? Is the move punishable? If I block the move, can I hit him with anything? Let me test out all of the moves, see if my moves can hit them. Can I up 3 out of it? Can I up 2 out of it? Can I roll away from it? Can I roll backwards away from it? Can I just interrupt it? You know, can I neutral duck it at a specific point? Cover all of that here. Take that information online and watch how much better you perform. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I should be dropping intermediate to advanced. I'll probably just call it advanced because, you know, thumbnails. Video for 5 tips for advanced players pretty soon, sometime later this week. And in the meantime, I'll see you guys then. Enjoy playing some Mortal Kombat, and I'll talk to you soon.